Hey guys, what's up? It's Munklezunky. Welcome to my next DPS guide. I will be making a next tank guide as well when that one is out. Link to that will be in the description and on the screen of this video if you are interested in both roles of killing next. But first of all, before we can get into how to kill the boss itself, we have to go over the requirements and the gear. So first of all, for the recommended requirements, you should have 99 in all of your combat stats. This includes attack, strength, defense, HP, and range. This is going to be extremely helpful because Nex has very high defense, so you want to make sure your stats are as high as possible in order to hit her. Also, you will need 96 herb lore in order to make the overload potions, as they boost your stats significantly and allow you to be much more effective in combat. I'd also recommend 95 prayer in order to unlock the turmoil, curse, and variants. However, there is an alternative that I'll get into later, which you can use for prayer. Also, at least 67 summoning in order to use a war tortoise. However, a yak is recommended as you will be able to store a lot more food and prayer potions inside of it. Now let's look at the setup that you'll be taking to next. This is the lowest tier gear that I would recommend, and it can be pretty effective. So you will need Drygores in order to next. I would not recommend trying to kill this boss without tier 90 weapons. Drygores in particular, because melee for the most part is going to be your most effective style at dealing damage on most of the phases. I would recommend full superior elite void with a melee helm and a ranger helm, as this is going to be your best armor for dealing damage to next. However, if you don't have it and don't want to get it, I will also provide an alternative in a little bit. But for now, let's go with that, as well as the Drygore maces. I also have a Ring of Vigor, which you can get from Dungeoneering. It's extremely helpful because it saves 10% of your adrenaline every time you use an ultimate ability. I also have a Shard of Zeros equipped, which you can get from the Fate of the Gods quest. This one is really nice because it means that no monsters in the God Wars dungeon will attack you, so it's nice for getting to the boss without being under any threat. Also, a Vampirism Aura Penance works very well at next as well. I have Silverhawk boots equipped because they are a hybrid style boot, so they will not reduce your accuracy as you switch between melee and range. If you don't have Silverhawk boots, alternatives are you can use War Priest boots, or you can bring Torva boots with Pernix boots to switch in your inventory, or lower tier God Wars dungeon boots. Also, a max cape is nice. If you don't have one, you can wear a skill cape because that is a hybrid cape as well. Finally, an Amulet of Souls. Some other variants that you can use are an Amulet of Fury or the Dungeoneering Brawler's Necklace, which will provide a large strength bonus. In the inventory, I have a Supreme Overload and a Prayer Renewal Potion, 2 Adrenaline Flasks, some Brew and Super Restore Flasks, as well as a Void Ranger Helm and Chaotic Crossbows. You can upgrade these to Ascension Crossbows if you have them, but for beginners, we'll be using Chaotic Crossbows and Royal Bolts, as well as a shield and a spare yak pouch. Here are a few setup alternatives which are very important to consider when you're deciding to go at next and potentially do it for a long amount of time. First of all is the Amulet of Zealots from Dungeoneering. It costs 40k Dungeoneering tokens. What this does is it significantly boosts the accuracy and damage that you get from the low level prayers in the standard prayer book. If you want to use that, you will gain slightly more accuracy than using the Turmoil Curse with 95 prayer. The downside to this is you lose the ability to soul split. Also, the necklace itself has a negative prayer bonus, so your prayer will drain faster and you'll have to use more prayer potions. And you get no stats from the amulet itself, so you are losing all of the strength bonus that you're getting from a standard amulet. However, it will provide slightly more accuracy than a standard amulet, so in the long run, it probably is better for most people. Also, a Blood Nihil is a level 87 familiar that will increase your accuracy by 5%. It's very good just for melee. However, you will not be able to store any food inside the Blood Nihil, so I wouldn't recommend using one of these until you are experienced enough to last your full Overload Flask without having to bank, and in that case, it's going to be very beneficial to use a Blood Nihil because you'll have much better accuracy. Finally, the Malevolent and Torva armor. This is what you want to wear if you do not have access to Void armor and don't want to get it, because for one, it does provide much better defense than Void. It also has a higher damage bonus than Void, but the problem with these armors is you don't have any accuracy. So Void is going to be slightly better overall for doing damage to next because you'll hit more often. However, Malevolent and Torva is a nice alternative if you do not want to get the Void armors. And also you'll have extra defense, so you'll be hit less often by next. So when you are all geared up and you are in the next area and ready to start, you want to idle at the Fumus Minion until next spawns. The Fumus Minion is in the northwestern part of the area. This will be the first minion that you have to deal with. And then you want to click on Fumus once he's ready and use Resonance and Preparation. You will have to have your shield equipped in order to use that, and this is why you brought a shield. And then you want to use Escape after that. Then drink your Overload Potion and Adrenaline and run to next and equip your offhand weapon. Right after she says fill my lungs with smoke, you want to use Anticipation to prevent any pulls for 10 seconds. This is also a defensive ability. You do not need a shield equipped to use it. And then you just want to attack next, use abilities on her, and as soon as she says there is, you want to angle your character so he's pointing away from next, and then you want to use the ability Surge to get out of the tunnel so you don't get hit for high damage when Nex is surging through the tunnel. When Nex says Fumus, don't fail me, return to the Fumus minion and attack the minion. What you want to use Berzerk on this minion, and the best abilities for killing the minion as quickly as possible are the Dismember and Fury abilities, because they'll take down the minion quite fast. Always try to use your brews over using Rocktails if you are starting to lose HP, since the brews do not reduce your adrenaline, which you will need in order to use the higher level abilities once your Berzerk is active. And then we are now in the smoke phase, so you don't want to stand within melee distance of Nex for too long because you'll hit by high damaging bleeds. Also, you can pray range to reduce some of the damage. While your Berzerk is still active, you want to use either Assault or Destroy on Nex, and you should be doing a lot of damage. And after you use that, just run back and forth from Nex to a couple squares away so that she doesn't damage you with the bleeds, and then you can just kill Nex fairly quickly. Most of her HP should be gone at this point. The next minion you want to kill is Umbra. Umbra is in the northeastern part of the area, so you want to make sure you get her down as soon as possible, and also hopefully your tank will have Nex no longer in range so that you can pray magic against the minion so the minion won't wreck you, because it can hit fairly hard. You also want to drink some brews to make sure that you are close to max HP here, as well as you restore your stats if you are losing any. And then when Nex goes into blood phase, you want to tag her and then step back a couple spaces and use defensive abilities, or use abilities but click away quickly to cancel them to make sure that you don't hit Nex on the siphon itself. As soon as Nex is done siphoning, you want to use Assault, and then you want to use the ability Blood Tendrils, and then after that use Destroy. If you are turned red by Nex, you want to use the Escape ability. If you don't, then Nex will hit you for about 1000 damage as well as heal 10,000 HP, so it's really not a good idea, especially if you are in a duo, to just tank that. You can use Soul Split if Nex is pointed at the tank and not towards you. If Nex is attacking you, she will use Blood abilities, which will siphon some HP from you to her, so you want to make sure you're praying Mage. And then finally, when Cruor is called, which is the third minion in the southeastern part, you want to use Berzerk on the minion. Again, remember to use Dismember and Fury to kill the minion quickly, and then walk back to Nex while Berzerk is still active. Continue to use basics to get your adrenaline up, and then you should be able to use Assault as soon as Nex calls the prison and prisons the tank, and you should be doing a ton of damage with Berzerk active. After you've used Assault under Berzerk, build up to 50% adrenaline and then use Destroy, and at this point Nex should be done with the ice phase, and she'll call the final minion, which is Glacis. At this point you want to switch into your ranged gear, so make sure you equip your ranged boots if you need them, as well as your Void Ranger helm and your chaotic crossbows or ascension crossbows. And then you want to kill Glacis and build up adrenaline during the fight, so use basic abilities versus Glacis, because as soon as Glacis is dead, you will be using the ability Death Swiftness in order to do a lot more damage to Nex during the final phase, the Zeros phase. So after Glacis dies, you want to use the ability Death Swiftness and then drink your Adrenaline Potion and start to use your best thresholds. So you want to make sure that you get off Snapshot, Rapid Fire, as well as the Shadow Tendrils during your Death Swiftness to deal a lot of damage to Nex and get her down as soon as possible. Also, if you are using the crossbows, make sure that you use Needle Strike before you use each of the threshold abilities, as this will boost the damage of those abilities by 5%, which is going to cause you to do a lot of damage. So after you have exhausted your Death Swiftness and used all of your threshold abilities on Nex, you want to build up to 100% adrenaline again. If you are running low on food for the trip, then you can save your adrenaline to use a healing crystal after the kill is over, or you can finish off the kill with the ultimate ability Unload, which can only be used with dual wield crossbows, which does 4 hits of extremely high damage and can be very effective at getting Nex down when she's about ready to be killed. I know all of this can be a lot to take in if you are just learning how to kill Nex, or if you are relatively unexperienced, so as well as watching the video over again, one thing that you can do as well is look in the description of this video, and I will have a short text guide summarizing the major steps of each phase of Nex that you will have to be doing as well. Feel free to check that out if you need to. Anyway, the kill is wrapping up here, so if you have full adrenaline, make sure to use a healing ability so that you can have extra health by the time the next spawns, and that's how you DPS next. So thanks for watching, guys. Hopefully you enjoyed. Hopefully it was helpful to you. If you have any questions, leave them down in the comments, and I should be coming out with a tank guide for next soon as well. Until then, see you next time.